Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We'll be starting the session shortly, inshallah. So we'll just wait for another couple of minutes, let other students join in and those who are connecting with us on YouTube as well. And inshallah, in 2 minutes, we'll start the session. Thank you for your patience. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to a brand new session, our new Corporate Connect session. We'll begin in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruh. Wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lah wa man yudlil fala hadiya lah. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله وخير الحدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم شر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثات بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. My dear students, I welcome you all to this new Corporate Connect session. Thank you so much for taking your time out and joining us. All of those who are joining us live on YouTube, welcome to all of you as well. Brother Saleh, I would just request you to handle the waiting room as well. Those people who are joining us and are waiting in the waiting room, please allow them in, inshallah. Now, the session that has been advertised for today is on mental health in the workplace. At the outset, we remind all the students about the Corporate Connect session. The objective of the Corporate Connect sessions are that we have industry experts come in and share their perspective on different issues. The idea is that we would like all of you to become industry ready. All of you are studying with the IOU. Some have been studying for a long period of time. So now whatever knowledge that you are gaining, and of course, we always strive to give you the knowledge from an Islamic perspective, but how are you going to apply that knowledge at your workplace? And in today's day and age, when we talk of workplace is not only about application of skills. It's also about how you handle yourself, how you handle the stress related to the work. There's a lot of stress, isn't it? We keep hearing about companies who are downsizing. People are losing jobs. It's very difficult to get jobs. So there's a lot of stress related to jobs and finding a job, or for that matter, keeping a job safe. There's a lot of stress. So today we have with us Sister Zainab Adbulla, who will be speaking on a very important and pertinent topic, mental health in the workplace. Before I hand over the session to her, it is my honor to introduce to you about our guest speaker. Zainab is currently a partnership specialist. She is a passionate individual determined to make a change. Her interests are centered in mental health and education, especially in student empowerment. And therefore, I feel it's really appropriate that she is here today talking to all of us, all the students at the International Open University. Zainab is a lifelong learner who always looks forward to what's next while performing her best in whatever organization she's part of. She loves being part of various opportunities and has completed several programs, including the Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Scholars Program from NYUAD, the Forward Program from McKinsey, the Accelerate Her program from DIFC Innovation Hub, the Future of Education program from Shera, and many others. Zainab is also an aspiring career coach. And so if you have your queries and questions on career, etc., today is a good opportunity to seek answers from Zainab. She has recently been certified as a professional coach and is working on getting her ICF credentials. She loves to help students and anyone looking for a career move to discover and obtain their dream role. We're truly honored to have you, Sister Zainab, and I would like to request you to start your presentation, inshallah. Over to you. Barakallahu feekum.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much, Mr. Mansour. I'm very happy to be here. Assalamu alaikum, all you students. And thank you so much for joining in today. And thank you, Mr. Mansour, for the introduction as well. As he mentioned, today our session will be on mental health in the workplace. I will start off by sharing my screen. Just give me a minute. If you can all please confirm that you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So Mr. Mansour gave a really great introduction about myself. Also, I will just say a few more words about my background. So I've studied psychology and I did my bachelor's in psychology, and I moved on to do my master's in global mental health, focusing on preventative mental health measures within the UAE. I have experience working in a variety of fields. I started working in startup, and then I went to a corporate, and currently I'm working at a federal university in the UAE. And all of these places, they have their challenges, they have their benefits. But I think I'll give you a very holistic view of what sort of challenges or stressors that can happen in these places. I do love working with students, as Mr. Mansour mentioned, and that is also my current role, which I'm really loving a lot right now. And also a fun fact about me is that I speak 3 languages, which is English, Arabic, and Urdu. So to start off, I want to first, I will be doing 2 icebreaker activities. The first one, you'll be needing the chat box. I want to know where you all are from, so I know who my demographic is. So I would be, if you guys can please write in the chat box. Okay. Oh, from Dubai. I'm also from Dubai. It's very nice to see very different places. Almost 3 continents now we're across. MashaAllah. Amazing. I'm so glad to see such a variety of students here. And I would, the second icebreaker that we're going to do is to launch some polls, to ask you just a few questions. They're just some fun questions. Don't worry, nothing too stressful. I'm not quizzing you guys or anything yet. So, Mr. Mansour, please, can you launch the poll? Yes. So the first question is, would you rather have ice cream or cake? Ice cream. I personally prefer cake. I still love people like ice cream. It is hot nowadays, so I'm not surprised. Okay, so yeah, most people prefer ice cream. Let's check the other questions. So yes, the other question is, would you rather sleep early or wake up late? I'm personally not a morning person, but it's very important to wake up early. So I do sleep early now. I'm really interested to see what everyone else is also. So most people like to sleep early. Very good. That's very good, actually. And you will see why it is also very crucial for your mental health to go to sleep early. Next poll, please. Yeah. Do you prefer class online or in person? This is an online session. I'm not going to call this, it's sort of a class, but I'm hoping this to be more of an information session for all of you. Great, so most people prefer in person. Inshallah, I hope one day I can do it in person and that there's more classes in person as well. And now finally, would you rather be here or somewhere else? You can be honest, it's fine. Great, everyone said they want to be here. Amazing, I'm so glad that this is where you want to be. And I hope you do learn a lot from our session today. So the agenda of our session is, first I'll be introducing what is mental health. Then I'll be talking a bit about the workplace and what really is some of the factors that happen there. I'll also be talking about psychological safety, and I'll be emphasizing on why this has been placed separate from the stressors that I talk about in the workplace. And then I'll be talking about how do you prioritize yourself in not just your workplace, but in your daily life regarding your mental health, because at the end of the day, it's all centered around you and how you deal with yourself. Then I'll be talking a bit about mental health care in Islam. And finally, we'll have a summary of the session. And there's a little fun surprises and activities around along the way as well. So first, the definition of mental health. So according to the World Health Organization, mental health is defined as follows. It is a state of mental well-being that enables people to cope with the stresses of life, realize their abilities, learn well, and work well, and contribute to their community. So mental health is when we're in this holistic sort of state in which we are performing well, we are able to function well. When there are people who have mental illness, it's when they have dysfunction that they cannot perform or contribute to society. Of course, it's not a permanent state. It's just that they need help. And like you would go to the doctor to seek the support for your physical care, the same happens for mental health. Two sorts of factors that impact our mental health. The first is protective factors. What are the factors that are really support us to make sure our mental health, we're always mentally healthy, and that we are feeling safe and we are feeling valued. So these factors can include, I'll give you a spoiler, but I'll mention this later, is one of them is religion or Islam in our case. Another can be family, another can be friends, another can be certain hobbies we have, and certain mindsets as well. So these are factors that protect us from ill mental health. And the risk factors are what may lead us to develop mental health disorders, which have which are becoming very prominent in the world. Around 1 in every 4 person has a mental health illness. So risk factors, we'll be discussing more about the workplace, but also risk factors include personal loss. It includes trauma from car accidents or any other sort of traumatic life experience. So these are some factors that impact our mental health. Now I'll be entering a bit into what the workplace says about challenges they face. So I'll be using statistics from different demographics, but mostly focusing on the UAE, GCC, and the UK, because that's the research I found. So first of all, McKinsey did the study on looking into what are the challenges, health-related challenges found in the workplace. And as you can see, mental health is the top health challenges the employees face in the workplace, followed by physical health, social, and spiritual. So this is very crucial for us to then focus on and make sure that employers provide good mental health environments for their employees. Now we're going to have our second activity. I want to ask you, what do you think are some risk factors at work? We will be discussing them afterwards as well, but for the time being, I want to know your ideas. So I will be opening the whiteboard. Let me just stop sharing for a minute, and please feel free to add to it. Okay. Great. Yes, please feel free to share your ideas. Okay, I believe someone wrote meeting deadlines. Yes, very good. They could be very stressful to meet deadlines, especially when you're giving very short deadlines that is not feasible, really. Unhealthy competition as well. Yes, that's true. We would love to think that our peers and colleagues at work are helping us, but sometimes the workplace is structured that we have to compete with each other, and it can be unhealthy. So thank you for that. Then there is work-life balance and culture at workplace. Yes, I agree as well. Work-life balance is extremely important, and I will emphasize on this point later on. Thank you. Recognition as well. Yes, not everyone receives recognition at work. It can be very challenging. Cunning colleagues, remaining competitive. Again, yes. Unhealthy lifestyle. Yes. So thank you guys so much for some of these points. I'll be moving on with the session and resharing my screen now. But thank you guys so much. These are all really great. And I'll be sharing what I have noted down. There are some of the risk factors. Oh, I'm sorry. Is the screen being shared? No. Okay. Here. Yes. Okay. So I'll be going through them and I'll be discussing some of them. So the first is underuse of skills. So you have learned a lot from university and you enter the workplace and you have so many skills to share. But unfortunately, sometimes you end up in a workplace that doesn't utilize the skills that you've learned. So that could also cause stress and is a risk factor. Inadequate pay. Unfortunately, companies try to pay as little as possible to employees and maximize their. But it's very important to know what your market value is, and there are several ways to know that depending on the role you're entering, and also to always negotiate on your pay. Job insecurity, especially during COVID, this was a huge issue that caused a lot of stress, and it was because of COVID. There was an economic crash as well, and a lot of people lost their jobs, and there could be that here again. Discrimination, discrimination can be anything from sexual discrimination to gender discrimination to racism. So it's always a really difficult thing, and the important thing is that you also do not play a role in that discrimination and actually report it when it happens. A lot of companies take this very seriously. Unclear duties. Sometimes the management does not give a lot of input into what employee should do, especially when they first join in. This can be a challenge. Thank you so much, but this is going to all be filled as well. I think someone added that. So, but thank you so much for that. So yes, unclear duties is also something that can cause someone to be mental, to stress on their mental health. Then we have lack of work-life balance, which a lot of you also mentioned. You have the work-life balance really falls on the employee's part to make sure that they're also handling that, and also challenge the employer on this, because everyone has a life that they need to get back to. Excessive workload, it could be the opposite maybe of underuse of skills or not having enough workload can also be an issue. But excessive workload can also impact your physical health. So it's a very serious thing to take. Inflexible working hours. Alhamdulillah, this one is getting a little better from what I've seen, but there's still some companies who are not flexible at all and make very strict rules about when you come in and when you leave. And you should also ensure that it matches with the work-life balance. Negative peers. A lot of you also said unhealthy competition or cunning colleagues. So this negative peers or any colleagues that are really not looking for teamwork, but instead pushing their own agenda, this is also a risk factor. Lack of control over workload. You sometimes enter a company hoping to do a certain thing, and they've given you a certain task to do, but unfortunately that's not always the reality once you do enter the workplace, and it could be very stressful. I personally have experienced this, and alhamdulillah, it took a while, but my management, they did, after many long conversations, they did give me some workload that I was more satisfied with compared to what I was receiving earlier on. Poor management, also a very big issue, and it's actually a really, really big reason why people leave workplaces, even when you don't have another option. Like a lot of places, people apply to another job and get an offer before leaving. But I've actually heard cases, and some of my own friends, they've left workplaces because they could not handle the management. Unsafe work environments. There could be work environments that could be unsafe or are not sanitary even, which it can be very difficult as well to work in. Workplace violence, this also ties in a little bit with the negative peers, is that if that goes on to becoming an even bigger issue, and workplace violence is not limited to only physical violence, it can also be emotional violence and verbal violence. So it is very important to be aware of that and raise it to the human resources or the management when this happens. And finally, limited support. In the end of the day, if you feel like you're the only person working towards something in a company, it can feel very lonely and it can be very difficult in the long run. So why should companies care about their employees' mental health? What is something that's very important? Why is it so important? So this is based on statistics from the UK. 15% of the UK's workforce have displayed symptoms of mental health problems. And this could be because they took a small sample and expect, but it's actually on the rise as well. Almost 87 billion pounds are recorded as economic loss due to poor mental health. Because people, as I said, people with employees, they go into a workplace, they are not staying there because of all of these issues, as well as that they keep moving jobs. So it's a loss on the company as well when they cannot retain their employees. 300,000 people who have a long-term mental health problem lose their jobs every year, and that is about a 54 billion annual cost to the employers. And they're 3 times more likely to have a long-term period of sickness. Every employee is allowed to take sick leave, and these people might take their whole sick leave, which is also having impact, or even take extended sick leave. And absence due to mental health reasons has increased since 2009 by 5%. But it is getting better in some cases. there's much more awareness of mental health, and that is really the important thing. Is that's the study I showed about McKinsey and company at the beginning actually is a study that happened after the pandemic, and this shows that really companies and other employers are looking into how to enhance their mental health care. I also recently read the statistic that 90% of companies in UAE are now offering mental health support programs. Alhamdulillah, me as well, I've experienced this. My previous job and my current job, both of them, they have mental health support programs for me to get into. So, and now I want to show you a video about managing your mental health while working remotely, as remote jobs are now also on the rise. So I will just open this. Sorry. I think I'll have to change my screen. Sorry, can everyone hear the video?
No, not really. I think you'll have to just click on share screen again, and you will have the option to give the sound access as well.
Okay. Oh, yes, I see it. Thank you so much. All right, great.
Whether you're working from
Now can you hear it?
Yes, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
home, remotely, or even on the road, the way we live and work is always changing. Working in a changing environment can create worry and feelings of stress, uncertainty, and loneliness, which can have a negative effect on our mental health. However, there are things you can do to help you stay mentally healthy in your workplace, no matter where that is. Keep to a routine with clear start and finish times in a designated workspace. Be sure to take regular breaks, get physical exercise, and switch off after work. If you're able to, participate in opportunities that let you reconnect with co-workers. Schedule regular catch-ups and chats with your colleagues, either online or over the phone, to maintain connections and stay in touch. Always be on the lookout for signs that someone is struggling. Look for changes in communication and behaviour. Are they posting less? Are they answering your calls? Is there a change in their tone or language? And then trust your gut and check in with them. It's okay to say you're not okay. Many organisations offer free mental health support services, or your workplace may have an employee assistance program available. If you start to feel overwhelmed or anxious, seek support immediately. For free tools and resources to support managers and workers stay mentally healthy, visit mentalhealthatwork.nsw.gov.au.
Okay, so this is just a short video, and they also explain about what are some things that you can do. And I'll also discuss this a bit more in depth. This was a video from Australia. And now I'll be talking about two scenarios. So let's imagine yourself that you're not feeling well, you're feeling stressed about something to do with work or even a personal reason, and you come and tell your manager about it. And your manager listens to you and tries to offer advice, maybe even refers you to the employer assistance program or any mental health support that you can receive. So that's the first scenario. Second scenario, same thing, you're distressed about whatever, something with work, something with personal. Your manager is like, oh no, I don't want to hear about it, or you should just focus on your work, and this is something, or they don't even listen to you. Which kind of workplace would you prefer to be in? First one or the second one? You can answer in the chat. I want to see some interruption. Oh, my audio is not clear. Okay, I'm really sorry about that. Let's see why that is. I'm gonna unshare the sound that I did before. Is it better now? Okay, perfect. Yes. So yeah, the first one, exactly. Having management listen to you and feeling free to express yourself in a workplace is called psychological safety. And this is a very important component that really, whatever workplace you go into, this is something you should ask people who are probably working in that workplace before. Is it a psychological safe place, or is it a place that I can express my feelings or thoughts or even opinions regarding work? It doesn't have to be all on the personal level. It can also be on the work level. A lot of you mentioned about unhealthy competition. Unhealthy competition is not a psychological safe place, because it's a place that you can't even really share your ideas, or you're afraid maybe that it might be taken by someone else. So why is it important? It helps employees share their thoughts freely. It creates a healthy work environment. You get better work and engagement from employees. Retention of employees, which we've seen is a very important thing, especially when there's a lot of economic loss involved. So anytime someone asks you, like, why should an employer really care about their employees' mental health or that fact that they feel safe, it's because you want to keep those employees and you don't want to go through the hiring process again and again. It also takes the organization to new heights. Organizations that are more psychologically safe are more likely to develop a better and better. Sometimes in the startup world, there's like some companies that really shoot off, not just because of their idea, but also because of their employees. And there's some companies who are still like on the surface level. So prioritizing yourself, I will be repeating a few of the points that was mentioned in the video about how to really manage your mental health and improve it. So first of all, work-life balance, 100%. This is very important. As soon as you enter into the workplace, you need to know what your hours are, and everything's written in your contract, that what your hours are, what is expected and everything, and discuss it with your manager as well, that this is my work hours and you have responsibilities at home. In the end of the day, it's very important to remember that you are replaceable at work, but you are not replaceable in your home or to yourself. So always make sure that you are balancing the both. Take breaks during your work. Don't just sit 4 or 5 hours in one place. It's not really healthy, especially with if you're sitting on a desk. You really need to go move around a little bit. This also energizes you and makes your performance better once you come back. And a break can be from like even 5 minutes. So it doesn't have to be like a very long break. I would actually not suggest to take very long breaks, but short, quick breaks. A colleague of mine actually recently told me, he said that there's the Pomodoro rule, is that you take 25 minutes, you work, and in 5 minutes you take a break, and then you do that again. Eat well. Eating healthy is very important. That doesn't mean you cannot indulge in a little bit of ice cream or cake, but it's also important to make sure you're getting all of your vitamins, minerals, and everything to build your body, because in the end, this is all going to fuel you in your work and even in your personal life. Connect with your loved ones. Always make sure that you are connected with your loved ones, whether you're living with them in the same country or not. Make sure that you have constant connection with them, at least speaking to 1 or 2 people per day, and asking about, just to not feel lonely, and also like to boost yourself. Make time for your hobbies. I added a book here because I personally enjoy reading, but make time for your hobbies as well. It's very important and it really builds you up again. Seek care when you need it. This is extremely, extremely important, is that it's always okay to reach out and seek help when you need it. As I mentioned, just like if you have a physical illness, you need to also seek out help when you're having mental health concerns. Exercise. The hormone in the brain that regulates the mood is called serotonin, and the only natural way to produce serotonin is through exercise. So make sure you're also moving your body around and focus on that as well. Always make time for some exercise. It doesn't have to be something like a full workout or cardio. It could even be a walk. And finally, pray. Praying is also such an important factor that we sometimes forget about, especially in today's busy day and age. And it's good. And now I'm going to transition into seeking mental health care as a Muslim. When in this world, we do have a lot of challenges. We even saw that in the definition of what mental health is. And that's because Allah tests us in this world. This world, in the end, is a test. And Allah wants to see how are we going to progress in it. He always asked us to speak to Him, to ask Him for help. And this is always something that also personally, it helps me. And I really believe that if you ask Allah to help you, He will respond back. There is always good. This is also something important that you can think about, having this positive thinking that whatever is coming is going to come for the best, inshallah. And always believe in Allah, like Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, la yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. Allah does not give us anything that we cannot handle. So inshallah, this is something that you should also think about and remember always. But despite all of this, there's nothing in the Quran that's written about discouraging people from seeking mental health care. There's a lot of stigma that we should rely only on Allah, and we should rely on Allah. We believe in Him and He is there for us. But it's also important as humans for us to connect with each other. Allah has created us in tribes and groups so we connect with each other. And that is how we seek mental health care, from our, not just from our close ones, but from professionals as well. And there is always belief that there's no disease that Allah has created except that He has created its treatment. This is from the Rasul ﷺ, and it's a hadith from Sahih Bukhari. So inshallah, whatever you go through, whatever concern there is, whether at work or personally, it's always going to get sorted. So I put this picture because I really liked it. So I want you all to say this. Inshallah, I will take care of my mental health as much as I take care of my physical health, because they both go hand in hand, really. Okay, so now we have our final activity. I have requested that all of you get a pen and paper to this section, and this is the reason why. We're going to be playing self-care bingo. So here you will see some activities or items I have, which are related to self-care. And I want you to do a 4x4 table, so to have 16 boxes like this, and to place in whatever you think is something that you would do or you already do. And then the first person, then I will show you what I had filled out previously. And the first person to get all four in a row, let me know, and you will be the winner. So inshallah, I will be giving you all 5 minutes to make this table. First, I want to confirm, everyone does have a pen and paper, right? Okay, perfect. So inshallah, just 5 minutes and we will move on. Yes, 4x4. So this is what it should look like. Oops, no, didn't want to show what I've written. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So just 4x4 boxes, and fill out with whatever you like. Oh no, why is it going? Fill out from whatever you would like from here, what you do already or what you would like to do. Okay, just 5 minutes. So it's 7:38 right now. So inshallah at 7:43, we will start the game. Assalamu alaikum. Yes, so we're playing a bingo. Basically, I want everyone to make a 4x4 table and to fill in with these activities or routine, and then whoever gets 4 in a row from the ones that I announce, they will win the game. I want to have everyone mostly completed their table because it's been 5 minutes almost. So if everyone can just let me know on the chat if they're completed, almost complete, so we can move forward as well. So shall we get started? Yeah, not in any particular order because mine also is random. So inshallah, shall we get started then? Okay. So mine, I have put first one is pray 5 times a day. And then I put in unplug from email and social media for an hour, do something spontaneous, and take a walk. Has anyone gotten all of these in a row, or how much have you crossed out? Let me know on the chat. Okay, great. So Mr. Mansour has 2 down, and someone has 2 down as well. That's great. So we'll move on. Let's see. Then you have reward yourself for completing small tasks, go to bed early, which I did say, which a lot of you do, which is good because you wake up early. Forgive others who have hurt you in the past, and establish and stick to a routine. Anyone has all 4? Okay, good. 3 down. Great. Let's see if someone's going to win in the next round. Learn more about your local history, challenge your negative thinking, drink 8 glasses of water per day, and take a nap without an alarm. That's one of my favorite activities to do. Just nap without having to think about it. Pray Fajr in Jamis, yeah. That is very true. 3 out of 4 as well. Okay, now we're going to the final round, in which we have, one second, make your bed, stew, quilt, or crochet something, or any handcraft activity. This is something that I thought of. And declutter your wardrobe, or find a new hobby, or revisit an old one. First person to say bingo wins now. Okay, so you've got, who's gotten 1 or 2 rows of these filled out, like in any of them? Okay, great. So I hope you all enjoyed this activity and that you learned from the session. I think this is now we're just going to talk about summary of the session. Facing struggles and difficulties are part of life, and the workplace is no different. You're going to feel stressors there, and I've showed some of them to you to raise awareness of what will happen. But the important thing is that you identify what are the good workplaces and take care of yourself. And remember, it is okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to not seek help if you need it. It's very important, and you owe it to yourself to always seek help or always reach out when you really need it. And know that there's always someone who's willing to help you. And inshallah, above all, we have Allah with us. So don't forget that as well. Thank you very much. You guys have any questions? Please do let me know.
Thank you so much for the enlightening session. We'll quickly open up the forum for question and answers. Now, if you have any questions, you can just post it in the chat box here. And those who are watching it on YouTube, you can post it in the chat section as well. And we'll try to take the question. We have a very limited time frame for the question, so we will stick to only a few questions. Can they have the presentation to download?
Yeah, sure. I can share it with you.
Yeah, but you can also have the access to the YouTube recordings as well, Atiya, and you can always view the recording there, but she'll share the recording, the presentation as well, inshallah.
Sure.
Brother Saleh, just let me know if there is questions coming up on the YouTube forum. Thank you so much for some important tips that you've shared. I was making note of some of the points that you were mentioning, and the importance that you said of prioritizing yourself. And I think this is something which we always tend to delay. We wait for something to happen. And this is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala beautifully articulates in the Quran, فَأَيْنَ تَذْهَبُونَ? Where are you going? He's almost putting breaks into our busy schedule. He's asking us to stop, think, ponder, what are you doing? So we need to really prioritize ourselves. This is the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us, that we have to look after ourselves. And amongst the 5 things that we will be questioned on is about our health. What did we do with our health? What did we do with our youth? So these are some important things that has to be looked into. Now, we're getting in some questions, so I'm going to quickly take these questions. So one of the questioner wants to know, how does one best handle antagonistic workmates?
Antagonistic workmates. Okay. So the best way to handle them is first to actually have a very open communication with them. You don't know what's happening in their life. And always it's better to do husn dhan. So first start off with husn dhan and hope that, actually evaluate if they're being maybe mean or anything on purpose. And if they are and they're not willing to listen to you, first try to communicate with them, understand what's happening, and they're just not really giving you back the same amount of energy, then I would say it is important to then raise it to your direct manager or their manager. But to keep it close, not to go around announcing it to people. This is very important. The less people that know is key here. And it's only when it's very necessary to do this. But if that colleague has done something to you which can be considered violent behavior, in the sense that they've actually hit you physically, or that they've cursed you or anything like that, or they've maybe screamed at you in a room full of people or embarrassed you in front of clients or anything like that, that is something that you immediately need to raise to the human resources department. And this is because this is something that a lot of companies take very, very, very seriously. So it really depends on the situation. If it's someone within your team, someone you work with, and it's more like happening private, it's not to the level of a violent issue, then try to communicate with them. But if it's a violence, then no, you need to really take action for that.
Okay, there's a question where the student wants to know, as they're going to start off their career very soon. So what are the points that they should take care of, because they haven't really experienced anything about what it is to work? What is the advice that you would have for them as a career coach?
So I would advise them to go with open mindset to learn, definitely. Always be on the lookout to where you can learn and add value, but also be considerate of what your work is and stick to that work. It can be free, and it can feel very overwhelming when you're entering a company and there's so much information, especially, for example, if it's like a global company. In a global company, there's a lot of things to look into, and it can get very overwhelming. The first thing you need to do is calm down, take a step back, and really see what are things that you need to prioritize to take forward and you need to learn, and slowly make that list and make your way towards it. And as well as always try to make connections at work. This is very important to know who you can speak with at work. And usually a lot of companies, they do assign someone to help you onboard, and whether that's someone in the human resources department or that is someone within your team. So keep your communication line open, ask a lot of questions. in my experience, alhamdulillah, a lot of people have been very happy to answer my questions. So always go and ask questions. But also keep in mind that you will have to take responsibility of settling yourself in sometimes, and that you will have to take that action. It's not that someone is going to take you by the hand. It's fine, inshallah, just take it slowly and firmly and take it forward, inshallah.
Yeah, there's another question where they say that it sometimes becomes very difficult to speak up because of fear or concern of losing the job in case you don't get supported by the management. In cases like this, do you advise that they continue working, or if they find no support, they should quit?
So quitting is a very big decision to make. This falls into what we spoke about psychological safety, is that if you feel like it's a place that you're not psychologically safe, it is a very good time to think about moving somewhere else. I personally would not suggest anyone to quit unless they have a second option. But in really very difficult circumstances, this is something as well, you can raise it to the Human Resources Department. But if it's everyone in the department, let's say in the company, is very difficult to deal with, then this is something that you really need to think about. I personally don't think that someone should quit if they don't have another job. But even if it's a less paying job or something else, I would still rather go for it than stay in that company as well. So it really depends on you and what your priority is, as well as how much fear you have of speaking to that people, and how, if you could develop that, like maybe work around it. So it really depends. Is it because like someone in the past is also from your team, for example, spoken out and they've lost their job or something like that? And also to think about how you're communicating your concerns. So that's another skill. Effective communication is actually really another skill that we can do a whole nother session about. So definitely research about that as well. But quitting, I would say, is very, very, very last option.
There's a question. Thank you so much for that. There's another interesting question. This is on emotional quotient, and they want to know that emotional awareness is extremely important to handle all the challenges that you've mentioned. How does one actually focus on becoming emotionally aware? Because most of the people who suffer at workplace are those who are already emotionally very weak.
So thank you for that question as well. It's really right. Nowadays, we have so many resources online to learn about how to become more emotionally aware. So I would really say to tap into those resources, and also maybe suggest this in your workplace if they're open to it. Again, if this is a psychological safe workplace, be that person who learns about emotional safety and does all of that to help your colleagues as well. SubhanAllah, like, if you become that person and you pass on that knowledge, that also comes back to you. So if you're in a workplace that you feel like everyone's emotionally weak, like has a very low EQ, and you yourself want to develop it, then try to open that topic as well to the floor and see how you can discuss it or take it forward.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, there's one person who would like to, one of our students would like to know if you offer career coaching classes other than the session that you've held, and is there a way they can connect with you? Can you share any link, etc.?
Yes, I'll share my email actually on the chat.
Okay.
They can connect with me on this email. I forgot to add it to my slides. So you can connect with me there, and I don't actually do much of the classes. I do some sessions when needed or when I'm called for them. I do enjoy doing them a lot, but mostly I do offer one-on-one coaching.
Okay. Fatima Noor would like to know, how do you deal with bullies at workplace?
So again, it depends on what level of bullying it is, and always speak out. There's no, don't keep it silent. Like that's what I would say. Don't keep it silent. Again, first speak to them, try to understand. But if you feel like there's no point in talking to them, or they're not willing to communicate, then take it to your manager or take it to the Human Resources Department. It really depends. Don't stay quiet about it. Don't endure it by yourself. Inshallah, there's always people around who want to help you. So always think about it in that positive way, that inshallah it will get better if you speak out. But that's the very important thing. This is because it's something even in school, a lot of bullies, this is where they face a lot of concerns, is when they cannot speak out. And inshallah, when you're in the workplace, there's actually laws and regulations against these things. You have like the country's human resources as well look into those laws and see what are some actually actions you can take as well. So don't like, I was just looking at it today in the UAE, this is actually considered very big offense, threatening or blackmailing someone through verbally. So definitely look into those things as well and always speak out.
Subhanallah. Thank you so much for that. In fact, I just wanted to remind the questioner as well as all the students here. Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, the second caliph of Islam, beautifully articulated, and he was supposed to be a tough man. The Prophet ﷺ said, the Ummah has a man as graceful as Abu Bakr and a man as tough as Umar. And the same Umar ibn al-Khattab says that do not be soft to the point that people squeeze you. And do not be rigid to the point that you get broken. So there is a middle line which one has to adopt. Now, there's another question which has come in from Ali. He would like to know, how would you deal with people who are difficult despite you doing the right things? And in fact, I'll just pose one more question because we're running out of time. How does one strike a work-life balance when it comes to taking work back home, or when my spouse has to do work home? Note that this is outside the working hours. How do I make this in a healthy way, the working in a healthy way, basically working from home in a healthy environment? And how do you deal with this difficult people in spite of you doing the right things?
Okay. Dealing with difficult people, again, this one, I'll tap a little bit into what we have from the Quran and from what Allah has said, is that there will be difficult situations and we have to still continue doing the right thing. But subhanAllah, this is the test in the end. Everyone has to go one day and we're going to meet, inshallah. So always in your Mizan Hasanat, this counts to do the right thing. But again, don't stay quiet. Always speak out. Who is this person who's being difficult? It really depends on the situation. As I mentioned with colleagues, to speak out to manager, human resources. I keep saying that because these are people who are actually responsible for making sure that you are comfortable at work. It's part of their role. And even if you're a manager, you have to take action within your team. If this is something that arises, you should not let it go. And it's not about, and it's a very important thing that sometimes it's been overlooked. So always still keep doing the right thing, inshallah, but make sure it's not being overlooked or even being completely like, as I said, like being very soft about it. No, you should take action, definitely, against people who are being very difficult, but it depends on situation to situation. Again, I hope I answered this question because it's a very situational basis, sort of.
Yes, thank you so much. And the other question was on someone who carries their work back home.
Yeah, I can see the question.
Yes.
Okay. So I would, if you're already working in the office from morning until like late afternoon, you have that 9 to 5 work life, I would personally say as much as possible, do not take your work home. That is your time that you're given completely to work. It's already a good 1/3 of your day. You need to keep that at work as much as possible. Sometimes that is not feasible. You have to take work home. In some companies, I worked in consulting firm. It can be very tough sometimes. So you have to take your work home. But these are only for very, very special cases. And it should be an exception, not the rule. This is a very important thing, is that even if you take over, if you do over more workload, this is the exception. And always also communicate to your team that if I'm taking more work, for example, one day you're working, let's say from 9 to 8 p.m., 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., then the next day, you have the right to also ask for less hours to compensate for yourself. And this is something a lot of workplaces do look into and do consider. So for example, my workplace, for example, it's a check-in, check-out system, but the thing is that you have to do a minimum of 40 hours per day. You can distribute the hours. It's not preferable that you do more than 2 hours like somewhere, but you can maybe one day if you work 10 hours, the next day you can work, let's say 6 hours. This is still possible in some workplaces. So this is something that you would find out from actually speaking to the HR department or learning more. So always make an exception and note that, your family is very important. As I said, you're replaceable at work, but you're not replaceable at home. So always make sure you're giving your family that time as well, and making sure you're taking care of yourself so you can be your best self for them as well, because perhaps they're doing the same for you. So don't forget that.
Okay, thank you so much. There are a couple of more questions, but I know we have to let you go because you have another session to catch up on. So I'm not going to be holding you back any further. Firstly, I would like to thank you for your time that you've spent and for the excellent presentation. I hope the students have benefited equally, and I'm sure they will be taking this to their workplace, inshallah, in the future as well. Before we conclude, we would like to have your final thoughts.
Mm-hmm. So no, thank you everyone so much and for engaging. I really, I had so much fun as well telling you all about this, and I really hope it benefited you. Please also drop me an email for if you want some career coaching or even just to say it's fine. I do love working with students, and I wish you all the very best, inshallah. And that this is something that in your workplace, it really helps you. For me, if even one of you benefited and this is something that they will remember, it is an amazing privilege for me then. Because alhamdulillah, thank you so
MashaAllah.
much.
Barakallahu fiki. So we keep sowing the seed as we keep moving on in our life, and that's what you have done today. Inshallah ta'ala, may Allah accept it. Now, before we conclude the session, we would like to remind all of our students that we won't be having any Corporate Connect session in the next month because that's when the semester break will take place. So I look forward to seeing all of you in the fall of 2023. Before we conclude the session, we remind ourselves about the long-term objective that we have in this dunya. This dunya is temporary. At the end of it all the kind of stress that we are taking in our workplace, in our personal lives, and so on and so forth, what is going to be the consequences of it in the next life? Is it really worth it? As Ali radiallahu anhu beautifully said, people are asleep, they shall wake up when they die. So this is temporary. The real life is going to begin in the next life. We need to try and amass all the deeds for the next life, inshallah ta'ala. And therefore, we need to look after our health so that we remain healthy and we are able to get more opportunity to do more good deeds and more sadaqah. With those thoughts, we will conclude the session today. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa